Well, that's how far.
Yes. I can't hear you guys very well. It's really not being well received on this end. I can barely hear you guys, so.
No one's talking though.
That would be why I can't hear anything then.
All right, 7:02, I'd like to call the regular council meeting for August 23rd, 2022 to order. The first order of business is going to be the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions? And I have 3.2 community grants requests from the Thorsby Municipal Library. And the second one, 3.9 letters to the MOA and the MP policing for Alberta.
I'd like to add boulevard weeding. Boulevard weeding.
Our meeting, okay? We can do that. Would you want to call that one there? You don't know which, where do you want to put that one under? 3.10, your worship. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Anything else? All in favor of the additions to the agenda and the agenda as is then?
I mean, we'll actually accept the agenda
Yep,
as addition presented.
you got ahead of myself there. Thank you. All in favor? That is carried. 3.1, minutes of the 2022 July 26th regular council meeting and the August 9th committee of the whole. Anybody had a look at them? If there's had a chance, I'm sure. Are there any errors or omissions for them? If not, can I get a motion to accept the minutes for July 26th and August the 9th?
I'll make the motion to hit the minutes for July 26th and August 9th.
Thank you. All in favor? And those are carried. So 3.2, community grants request for the Thorsby Municipal.
One word.
Sorry.
You should really be clarifying that if Councillor Rash is attending electronically, you can't visually see whether she's in favor or against. You should really be asking for verbal confirmation for the record. Just
She won't be voting, right?
okay. Well, if we're considering it in attendance, she's required to vote. So if she's in attendance, you have to ask if she's voting in favor or against, or she's not in attendance. She can't partially be in attendance.
Oh,
Yeah, she can't vote in camera. She can't attend in camera, but she can vote here if you were.
So yeah, so if she's in attendance at the meeting, you have to actually verbally ask her for in for or against. So
okay, Councillor Rash, did you understand what
Yes, I understand. And yes, I'm fine with everything so far. I agree.
I will make sure and ask you on the next one then. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay. All right, moving on to 3.2, community grants request for the municipal library. Donna, do you want to go through that for us?
I can, the Thorsby Municipal Library, the librarian Gail has connected with me and is putting on some programs in the fall, basically Indigenous author and an artist coffee house, and they're hosting an event close to October 12th, where 3 Indigenous artists will share their writing and visual art with the community, talk about the art and why it matters, and bring folks together to celebrate the community connection. There'll be an open mic where anyone in the audience can share their words or talk about their artwork. And the program costs $850, but the library is asking the town of Thorsby for $200 through the community grant fund. And they really want the library patrons to learn about Indigenous stories and art, have the opportunity for listening and sharing of ideas. They also would like to acknowledge the contribution of the town on their posters and social media. And Gail thanks everyone for the opportunity. They have filled out a community grant application, and administration has no issue with it.
All right, thank you. And we've got that, it's through the community grant fund, there's enough in budget for that. All right, thank you very much. Anybody have any comments on that or anything else they want to add to that? Sorry.
Yes, typically community groups provide, there's a written application that they submit to council for consideration. I would see no objection. I guess they probably want to have an answer, yes or no, sooner.
It
It's not in mine.
it was an addition and it's on.
It is up there. So I was gonna say, as long as the application is provided and it's all adequate, and I mean, I really can't see that over there, the angle it is. So
Yeah.
whether it's there or not, I'll take your word for it, but.
I can show it to you, sir.
Well, that's fine, as long as I'm just saying, assuming it's all been filled out and submitted appropriately, I don't have any objection, as long as it has been done.
Thank you for that.
Done.
Okay.
I can put the budget. I have that all here. And that was a late entry. She only phoned me yesterday, so that's why I didn't have it as a late entry.
Okay. Can I get a motion to provide $200 for the library through the community grant fund?
I'll make that motion.
Sean, all in favor? Councilor Rash, you in favor or against that?
I'm in favor.
Thank you. That is carried. Okay, 3.3, the fees and services bylaw 2022-05. And it's a draft, and we've had this going around for quite a while here. Everybody's had a copy for the last 2 weeks, a couple of weeks. Is there anybody have any additions or deletions or changes they want to put in there?
There
I
was
just-
one concern under the dog control, I believe it was, naming Leduc shelters. And, second, yeah, yes, this is the right one. And it names Leduc shelter. Should we just leave that as shelter fees rather than naming Leduc shelter?
What page are you looking at, Counselor?
It was in the fees under animal control. In the chart.
Looking here.
Dog control.
Shelter and care on page 6 of 11, last
Yeah.
column on the right side.
Roger, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, we can, I don't know why
Just if it's a
Duke.
Yeah,
That's the shelter. That's typical Black Gold Kennels, right? But we have, the pet store down here, we're working with them to be our shelter. We can talk with them. So, that's fine. We can scratch the point taken. Thank you.
go ahead, Corey.
That kind of relates to one of my things here, I think the dog control specifically, we had actively changed it to annual. I understand administration doesn't, or not, we had changed it from annual to lifetime. I understand administration doesn't like that. The fact is, we're proposing a fee schedule that is directly in contradiction to a bylaw that exists and is on the table. If we don't like that bylaw and do wish to go back to annual, I don't think we should. I think the lifetime is better. But if we are going to go back to annual, we're trying to pass a license or a fees bylaw that's directly in contravention to that existing bylaw.
Well, we haven't passed it yet, Counselor.
Well, but my point is, before we start doing readings of it, we need to square that circle, I guess is my point. I think it should stay lifetime. Whatever council wants to do, I guess is fine, but we shouldn't be passing bylaws that contradict each other.
Agreed, and we can pass first reading and amend and adjust that. We are in favor of back to yearly licenses because the administration is having a hard time, and maybe CFO Cindy can help me with this too. We're having a hard time reconciling them. We don't know when people are transferring licenses to current dogs. And if the one dog dies and they transfer a license to new dogs, we can't keep track of it. And we have to reconcile that every year. So we've had some people come in, we've had some residents come in, and we told them the fees we were proposing. Once we talked to them, they go, okay, we could kind of get that. So it's an administrative nightmare. CFO Cindy, any thoughts?
Yeah, it just takes time. We have to phone every single person with a dog license to see if they still have their dog.
You can send letters out with the bills too, because I agree with Gordon.
Yeah, it's Corey.
Yeah, I agree. Just leave it the way it is. It's just another tax on people.
And my way, I don't know why administration needs to chase them down annually. If something changes, they have an onus that's a condition of that lifetime dog. It's not transferable to a new dog. It's for that dog. If that dog dies and they get a new dog, they need a new license. And when bylaw goes and finds there's a new dog on the property that doesn't have a license, they get a ticket at that time. There is no good reason why where administration should be chasing them down each year. I don't understand the impetus for doing so. I think a lifetime is better, and the only way to get compliance, because with an annual, we couldn't get any compliance. That was an administrative nightmare. That was a burden. If we want to go back to annual, fine, but we need to change that before we pass this fees bylaw or take this out of the fees bylaw until we do change it.
Hi, may I speak, please?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I guess can we make a motion and vote on that part of this bylaw to decide what council thinks is the best option in regard to whether we should be doing it on a yearly basis or a lifetime basis? Because I truly feel yearly makes more sense to me. When I heard they had changed to lifetime, it didn't make sense to me, but that's just my opinion. And then just another point on page 17 of the package, I just had a question regarding the hawker peddler license for the 1 day, $50, for the 1 year, $200. Does that include markets? If someone was to have a table at a market, would they end up having to pay that fee? Is this new to this fees and services, or is this something that we've always had?
Councillor Shelley, where are you looking at? I would probably a different page 17, but which section are you looking at?
The package.
The chart.
It's business licenses, and then there's types, and then it's hawker / peddler, 1 day and 1 year, and then prices on my package.
Thank you. Let me just look here. Hawker peddler is currently in the business license, and that's another bylaw we have to amend. All we're asking for tonight is first reading, by the way, Mr. Mayor. And of course, youth business is no charge. The only fees we don't take out of a business license is the utility fee. So a hawker peddler, no, if council would like to propose another category for farmers market or a market table or something, we're amenable to that. 20 bucks or 25 or something.
Well, because my thought process is when, I don't know, I did speak to Lorelei regarding this because Lorelei runs that one market, and I asked if they're currently paying any sort of fee on this front, and she said no. So I just think it would deter people from getting a table in a market, because I don't think they make a lot of money a lot of the time. So I don't know. I just thought they already pay a fee for a table, as far as I know. I'm just curious as to whether the market person running it should be the one buying, if they could do a license for the whole market, or if it has to be individuals, they're paying for the table and they're paying for their license. And some people, it might not even be worth participating then at that point. Just my thought.
Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Shelley, we can look when we change the business bylaw, we can exempt like farmers markets. I mean, that's within our purview, or craft markets and so forth. If they're paying a fee to someone who's running the market, then we would want to look at a business license for that. But if it's farmers markets and craft markets, then that administration is quite amenable to having those as complementary.
Okay,
Or-
yeah, like I'm thinking
Well,
of
on
some,
that note, I agree that if somebody has to pay hawkers or peddlers license to participate in a farmer's market, that is not very conducive to them making money at said market. But that being said, if they are actively conducting business within Thorsby, they still should have a business license. So the fact is, if somebody is operating a business selling whatever they're selling, and they are a resident or a non-resident of Thorsby, but they're doing business here, they should already have a business license. So in reality, they should have no fee for that day because they already should have had a business license to cover them for the year. So if they don't, if they're doing a one-day, one-time thing in Thorsby and they're from Fort Saskatchewan, then why are they not paying? Because resident businesses and area businesses are, right? If somebody from Warburg's paying their fee for a non-resident license, somebody who's got a home-based business in Thorsby's paying for a business license, why are we excluding somebody who's not even from the area to make an exception for them when we're charging our own residents who are trying to do a home-based business here? That doesn't seem really fair to our local small businesses that are trying to make some extra money.
I don't necessarily agree. I don't,
The
I know,
intent-
come the car and truck show, they brought in that giant market and there was one time only people and they didn't make a lot of money. And I think it would deter, like the whole point of having events is hoping more people come into our community to help, people get to see our community and like our community and maybe bring people more so into our community. And if we're deterring them from the start, like I'm going to make $100, but I'm shelling out 75, $100 to get into this, I don't know if I'm going to even bother. So I get what you're saying, Councillor Gilbert, but I don't necessarily agree with it. And I don't know if there's something else, like I'm thinking what Donna said on the front of, if there is someone organizing it and these people are paying for the table, maybe there's somehow we can get that person that's receiving the table money to be buying the license for the market or something like that.
All right, well, thank you. The intent of this thing was to, some of these items they're good items, but I kind of wish that we'd have brought them up a little bit before because we had a couple of weeks before that. And I don't think it's really given the administration a chance to address some of these things here. So, say, Donna, do you want to bring this back to another one? Do you want to make these amendments here? Or do you want us to vote on these things here? We're kind of missing the boat here a little bit, I think.
Well, it's hard to have a discussion if we don't meet to have a discussion, Daryl. This is the first time we've got to discuss it.
No, but we've had these for a month, and the intent was to bring any concerns to administration, and then we bring them and more discussion, not just.
Point of order, the only mean by which council or a member of council can act is through a council meeting by a motion of council. There is no means or ability for council to act outside of this meeting. So to say, why didn't we deal with it between meetings? Shelley is right. The meeting is where we do our business. That is where and how council conducts its deliberations. That's why we're doing it here instead of some other time or place.
That wasn't my intent, but maybe you can screen it. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, council can, when administration asks for council's consideration on these, you send them into administration typically, and then we put them all in here. Councilor Mustin said this, Councilor Jonathan wants this, Councilor Gilbert wants this, Mayor Austin wants this, Councilor Rash wants this. So you're not doing anything, you're sending them to administration, we put them in here and we discuss the bylaw. That way we're all prepared, that would have been easier. So I'm always in favor of passing first reading and we come back again, but it sounds like there's some pushback on a lot of these. Now, some of these, I'll give you a little history on this. There's been an unwritten policy for years where some of these fees and services, and yes, we looked, there was no bylaw, and there were just made up charges in a sheet of paper underneath the desk, and we come across this and we wait a minute, we got to formalize this because this all will formulate your 2023 budget, part of these fees and services. So it is absolutely okay for administration to ask for council thoughts. You can send them, and you're all documented. Do they get discussed before council? They do not. They get discussed in a form like this. You'd all get to see each other's comments and it provides a platform to speak. So you're not doing anything outside the council boundaries. So with that in mind, usually I ask for first reading on this, and then we come back at this again. I'm happy to ask for first reading, but if not, we'll leave it as draft, and we do have to have this ready before the next budget. So I would like to get it on the September agenda regular, please, if possible.
And can first reading be changed at second reading? Or that would set it in stone?
No. We can, anytime we can make amendments once you pass third reading.
Okay.
That's a little different. You can make amendments up into first and second. You can delay first for a couple of weeks. You can delay second for a couple of weeks for sure. Once you pass three, we're set in stone and we've had enough discussion about it. I would really, really appreciate it if council would take a look at this and see if it fits your community, see if it fits. We're also, now that it's in the public, the public can comment on this and bring it back to administration as well with your thoughts. It's not set in stone, but we took the fees that were on that sheet that's been used for quite a few years that didn't make sense to us. We thought we got to bring this to a bylaw. We have no choice. So if you're not comfortable with first reading, I'll respectfully ask Mr. Mayor to gather any thoughts that you have and then the public has, that we can bring you a new draft bylaw at the council.
All right, thank you for that. Is there anything else anybody else want to discuss on this?
Could we go with first reading and get some more information regarding farmers market aspect of it and make amendments where needed?
You would have to make all the amendments into it after to pass the first reading. Corey, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I understand that people have in the past came and done so here and that the fee has been charged. I've never really agreed with it, and I still don't agree with it, that we should be providing administrative photocopying services, so to speak. Our staff surely has better things to do than photocopying, laminating. I feel like people should go to Staples if that's what they need to do. I don't think we should be using our resources or our staff time providing those services in this day and age. There's the library, there's commercial services available, there's other means for people to conduct said activities without tying up our resources and time. We're not efficient at it, and we shouldn't be, because it's not what we do. So the whole photocopying and faxing thing, I don't think that's a service that should be offered.
You're suggesting to delete that whole.
I don't think we should be offering it as a general rule. I mean, there's maybe an exception here and there, once in a while, but generally speaking, I don't think that's a good use of staff time or town resources.
Is that Heidi utilized? CAO Donna, do a lot of people come in for that service?
CEO Cindy's got the figures. I haven't seen too many, but CEO Cindy's got the figures for you, Councillor Shelley, through to Mayor Hobson, that will probably help.
I don't have figures, but I have. What I have is apparently SOS office will do it for free, so that's where we send everybody.
Oh, excellent.
Perfect. So that I guess commercial viable other options, we should just, it's easier to just say we don't do it.
SOS offers all those services?
For sure, photocopying and faxing. Yeah.
We offer photocopying too.
Okay.
Yeah, like I would like to think that the administrative staff has way more important things to do with their time. Like I don't see how we can provide that service here efficiently.
Well, and Mr. Mayor, through the Council Bill, we also don't want to be in the business, taking business away from other businesses.
Absolutely.
No, this is what was being charged before. This is an old.
And I realized you guys got that from what the status quo was. Like I didn't like it then, and I still don't like it now. I would just assume get rid of it.
We don't like it either. We don't like it either, so we're on the same page. I've X'd that out.
Okay. I couldn't agree anymore, and keep going at it. Anybody else have anything else in here? You have something, Debbie?
For the business license, when you say there's a market and somebody's charging for tables, they should pay for that. They're charging for tables to pay the rent on the building that they're having that sale in. They're not charging table money to make money. They're trying to pay for the facility they're renting to charge the staff.
It's not money we see, that's for sure.
No, and they're not seeing anything if the historical site, community hall has a craft sale, somebody put that on, they're charging the table people that money to pay for that hall for that day.
Actually, currently the home business license is free, is it not, Mary?
Yes.
The home-based business, yeah, the home-based business license is free, so I'm sure people don't even apply for one, they just. But.
Well, my point is, it'd be nice to have a record of who's home-based business. If they are a local home-based business, say, here, we're gonna charge you your $50 or whatever it comes down to for your hawker's license, or fill out the paperwork and get your free home business license, so at least we have a record of who's doing business. It doesn't seem,
Well, I think
like a
they
huge
charge
request.
home-based business.
well, I agree, I thought there was a fee for it. I knew it was less than normal. I thought there was a fee still.
There was a little bit of a discovered fee in the business bylaw that were being charged out that were not necessarily reflected and passed on the business bylaw. So the suggested fee says 0, but the bylaw says something different. So all those were taken out, and we strictly follow the bylaw.
So there is a fee then.
There is a fee, yes, but before there, it was a 0 charge, like we follow the bylaw.
We'll come back with, your worship and council, we have to come back to the business bylaw for.
I think we're better off, I mean, we can give the first read, I guess, with amendments, but I think it'd be easier just to have a motion to get council to go back with the amendment.
We certainly can, your worship, it's not a problem.
Have a motion to that effect? Like, make that motion.
Sorry, my computer just upset me. So I just. What you're asking.
I just instead of giving the first reading, I
Okay.
would like to address, get administration to bring it back with the amendments, and then we'll make first reading at the next.
Okay, I can make that motion.
All in favor? Shelley, are you in favor of that?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you.
Could I just ask one question about the dog license? If you've already bought lifetime, does that mean you're gonna start paying yearly again?
No, I think grandfather, sir,
Yeah, that's what
great question.
All right, well, thank you. Discussion. For 3.3, so 3.4, commercial development incentive. Once again, it's a 2022-06. It's another draft, and I'm going to open it up for any comments on that. Once we had on, we've outlined in here what we need. It's really something that we've been looking at for quite a while here. And can you just give us any highlights on it? Anything different in there?
Nothing different, your worship, but again, I mean, if there's lots of discussion, we don't have to do first or second reading tonight. What we found in the old policy, I'll just ask for let you know which policy it is here. It would be rescinded. We'd rescind policy 2011-05, 2012-249, 2012-025, and 2014-215. Whenever you're dealing with tax incentives, they really should be a bylaw because that is part of council's prerogative with tax incentives. It's not administration's prerogative. And it also affects budget and it affects, just in line with taxation bylaws, et cetera. So that's why we put this in a bylaw. So what we've done is we've changed, we've recommended, I'll say it that way. We've recommended on, would be page 32.
Four of them, right?
Yeah, that were for policies. Right. But on page 32 of your package, for the new business construction, we're recommending, the tax incentive was 100, we're recommending 50, in the policy it was 100. For the second taxation year, in the policy, it's construction, we're recommending 25, in the third year, 15. New business established in an existing building, we dropped it and recommending 25% first year and 15% second year. So we never added any years on or anything, we just dropped it. And of course, the exemption must not exceed three consecutive tax years for new business and 2 new business established in a existing building. We would ask for resolutions on this because of the tax. And then we found that in the old policy, it did not have really a good application requirement. So that's sitting in here. It did not have a proper application. And we wanted the application in the schedule for the bylaw so that it is always the same, that it is the same information. And this one's more robust than the old application. You saw probably copies of the old application, some kind of weird, I don't know, computer generated thing. I don't know what it was. But we used it because that's what it was. So this one is way more robust. Also, if you're going to have a tax incentive, we want an agreement, and an agreement is in here that we would sign with the business owner, and that they would sign this. And this is certainly comes from a legal perspective. So certainly, you know, if you have any amendments or concerns or questions, we're certainly happy to take those and make amendments for another further discussion at Cal in September.
All right, thank you, Gordon.
I don't know if it just showed up when it got translated through onto our agendas, but Schedule 3 has some very odd formatting errors on what I'm seeing. Is it better on here? Is it corrected?
Schedule AB or which
Schedule C.
No, it's all.
There's a series of gibberish on mine.
Here you go. Do you want to look at this one?
Sure, I guess my point is, there's half a page of just complete weird
Yeah.
gibberish.
I think it looks all right. That one.
I had a question on 7.2.6 in the consideration of incentive agreement. I'm just not understanding the verbiage, but it says tax incentive agreement shall be executed by the CEO or their delegate and the CAO or their delegate. Specifically, does that mean Daryl or does that mean all of council? Because then further on it does state council. So I was just a little confused with the verbiage.
Mr. Mayor, through the Councilor Shelley, the tax agreement would be signed with the chief elected official, which is Mayor Croston, and or delegate, which would be the deputy mayor, and the CAO or their delegates. You'd have 2 signatures on it. That's pretty standard. And then council would pass a resolution. The resolution would be on this agreement as well. So council as a whole would pass that resolution.
Okay, so it'd still come to council.
That is 100% correct. Administration has no part in this other than to speak with those who wish tax incentives, to prepare the application form, and to bring the package to council. This is just a more robust package. If council approves it, then the agreement is then struck. The agreement is not struck before there's a discussion with council and resolution.
Okay.
Corey, you got a question?
I mean, well, just for clarity on Chuck's, I mean, especially if we're saying doing an actual proper agreement between a business entity and the town. I understand that in our world, CEO could be chief elected officer, but in most people's minds, it's chief executive officer, especially when you're dealing with a business, which would create some weird confusion. And they could think that it means that it's being signed between whoever's in charge of the business and the town, maybe explicitly stating the chief elected officer rather than using the abbreviated CEO, because it creates that weird confusion in any reader's mind that isn't a part of municipal government.
Actually, we could stick that, Councilor Corey, we could stick that in the interpretation section of the definition. CEO shall mean chief elected official, i.e. mayor.
Well, but even putting in the interpretations, right? Sometimes it could get lost, right? Until somebody actually actively goes out of their way to look at that definition, they might just see CEO as an acronym and jump to that conclusion without ever going to the interpretation to look for it. See what I'm saying? Especially when you're dealing with a business entity, they're going to assume it's chief elected officer, or sorry, chief executive officer, not elected.
Could we just do mayor?
You can, usually they're all called chief elected officer on these agreements, but we can, if this council wishes it to be mayor, that's totally fine.
I could see there being some weird ambiguity and or confusion that, yes, fine, if you put in the definition, so to speak, it can get sorted out later, just why create the confusion in the first place, I guess, is my thought.
Oh, no, sure, for sure.
All right, anybody, any other comments? I guess we could give the first reading for that one, if you like, with that one amendment.
if, Mr. Mayor, we certainly have Mr. Chairman, if that's council. Okay. So. All right, so the bylaw 2022-06 commercial tax incentives, first reading with the amendment to 7.26, as clarified by Corey there. Can I have a motion for the first reading?
I move first reading of bylaw 2206 with that amendment to 7.2.
I think it's 7.26. 7.2, yeah, yeah. Correct. All right, thank you. All in favor? Shelley, you in favor with that? Hello,
Sorry,
Shelley.
I was muted. Yes, I agree.
Thank you. And then at this time, I'd like to do the second meeting and then we'll do the third afterwards on the next meeting. So can I get a motion for the second reading of bylaw 2022-06 commercial tax incentive? I'll make that motion. John, all in favor? Carried. You're with that one, Shelley?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. One done. Thank you.
Good work, thank you, Mr. Mayor, council.
3.5. I think this is just formality, Alberta Municipalities 2022 conference decision. As we discussed a little bit in the last CAL, we do have some money in the budget for it, but I don't believe anybody at this time is stepping forward to go to the conference. Corey, you have any wishes to go to the conference?
I don't feel we have the budget to go, so I'm going to decline to go.
No, I don't think anybody is. Shelley, you're not inclined to attend that?
Correct.
Okay, so then we will just, I guess, can I have a motion that nobody's going to be attending the AMA convention September 21st to 23rd? Sorry.
I'd move to decline participation in the 2022 AUMA at this time.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Shelley,
I should then Alberta Municipalities on AUMA, sorry, I don't have it. Yeah.
here you go. And there, so I think we're pretty good. All right. 3.6. SDAP representative position decision. Okay. You want us to give us a little subdivision, Donna, or do you want
I can certainly, Mr. Mayor, we signed the regional agreement with the county for the regional subdivision appeal board. Each municipality provides a member to sit on the appeal board. I can tell you quite a bit about it. I'm the chair of the Leduc Subdivision Appeal Board, and it's a quasi-judicial board that makes decisions based on appealing the decision of the development officer. We have a contract planner and development officer. And so if she were to make a decision that if you were building a house or a subdivision or something like that, and you were not happy with that, or if we sent out letters to adjacent landowners that they weren't happy, they could appeal her decision. It would come to a subdivision appeal board hearing, and the board can only make decisions based on the land use bylaw and the municipal development plan. That's the only two legislative documents they can make a decision on. And they can uphold the development officer's decision. They can offer a variance to the development officer's decision, or they can create their own decision. And they have to have their decisions out within 15 days in writing. And there is no appeal on the board's decision unless you want to go to the provincial body, which you have to have about $15,000 or $18,000 to go to the government to appeal it. So they're very thoughtful hearings. They're very, they take a lot of work to prepare for them. There's a lot of information that goes out, and a municipal clerk and executive clerk at the Leduc County prepares all those documents. And you usually get only 2 days to review them, because members of the board cannot go to someone's residence and check it out. You can't investigate, you can't talk to people. You have to only look at the documents that are before you, and that's all you can do. If you're being seen to check things out or drive by the house or the acreage or whatever was going on, the hearing can be quashed. So it's pretty strict, so you have to listen to the appellants and listen to the applicants, and it's quite a formal process, but it is very fair and it is very robust, and there could be quite a few depending. We probably wouldn't have many here from Thorsby, but there's probably a lot in the county. So the county is requesting our delegate.
And is there training for this position?
Oh, yeah, so there's
I
training.
thought there was.
Oh, yeah, it's 3 days, and you have to pass an
Did
exam.
we not have somebody in our organizational meeting? Did we not put somebody in there? I thought that we appointed somebody in there.
I'm sure we did, I don't remember.
I
I don't think
believe it was
anyone's done
myself.
I
training.
feel like I was an alternative.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's actually done the training yet. There was-
No, the
Of course, yeah, of course, I realized got delayed and there was like a quasi online half version thing
That's
going
right.
on. So no, there was a training issue. I can't remember who officially was appointed to
It
it.
wasn't available because of the
Yeah.
pandemic and everything.
No, and I realized there was, yeah, that, but we should just look who's actually already appointed to it. We already have
I
that.
believe I was appointed to that. I'd have to double check on that, but I believe
We're trying to confirm that, that's why we've asked.
Okay, well,
I just read that.
It's
I would,
Is it on our expense claim form?
yeah, I guess it would
That's
be,
where I read it.
Okay.
yeah, it would be there, yeah.
Shelley, you're brilliant.
That's weird that it's there, but not.
It's not. Shelley, you're not brilliant.
What did you
Me and
think?
Tracy-
On there?
There you go.
Sorry.
Oh, there it is. Yes, sorry, I was getting the wrong. slide.
Shelley, you're brilliant.
Yeah, it's Cory.
That's me and Tracy apparently.
Okay, I thought I was-
Again, there's a training that is, there's a course that is required that I'm assuming is available now. It wasn't in the fall. I don't know if it is now.
Just depends, Counselor Corey, when the law firms put it on, usually Reynolds Mirth or Brownlee Fry put it on. And it's 3 solid days, and there's an exam, you have to get over 80%.
Yeah, like I say, they were doing some weird like half-day online quasi version in the fall, but that was all they were doing back in November-ish.
We can
So
check
if there's,
for you.
I guess that's the point, is we just need to actually do the course at a certain point if it's available yet.
Yeah.
And are you
Yeah, actually,
qualified to do Cory?
I was on the regional assessment report. It was
Are
one of
you
the
qualified already?
No, it expires either way.
Okay.
I think I have done it once upon a time, but it expires, I want to say every 3 years.
Yeah,
So you have to redo it either way.
they change it quite a bit every 3 years. Okay, we'll check for you, Counselor Corey, and let you know.
Okay.
Sorry,
So you don't need any decision on that since we're already coming.
No, I didn't realize it was on your expense claim, so I apologize for that. It's the last place that I looked.
who
Yeah,
is
something
it?
that comes up often. Yeah, I guess, yeah, we really should do the course in case it comes up.
It's Cory and I'm the alternative Shelley.
Yeah, I swore Corey was the one, that's why. Okay, thanks.
All right.
And you're the alternate, Counselor Russell, so we probably need to get you trained up too, because a lot of times they'll call for us.
Well, but again, on the regional assessment review board, there's you two, which again, I think they're the same thing with courses.
It's the same,
So we
it's
should
the
Maybe
same
sort of those,
Training as well.
that separate, different course while we're sorting out courses, we should maybe make sure we get that crossed.
I know I told them before Christmas, and I know, I'll have more insight, but I know they were talking about June and July before they're all in.
Which we're there now, though, right? I know June and July has came, so hopefully something's available. Yeah.
So we'll look for assessment board training for those on the assessment board and FCAB training for those that are on the FCAB board, 2 different trainings.
All right. Well, we'll take the people have to check that out for us.
Make a motion to appoint administration find courses required for those boards.
Okay. All right. John has got a motion there. All in favor of that motion?
Shelley?
Carried. Shelley, you're okay with that motion?
Yes.
Voting for it? All right, thank you.
We shall enact that, thank you.
All right. Thank you for that. 3.7, road closure for Lone Wolf Mechanical Show and Shine.
Mr. Mayor, the Municipal Government Act grants us the ability to request a closure of a road for a special event. And in this case, it's the Lone Wolf Mechanical Show and Shine on August 27th. We're proposing to close for their convenience from 46th Street to Hankin and 50th Avenue. So it'd be from Hankin 3 streets down and 50th Street across the front so that they can have the room to go. We have no issue with it. We have the road closure document here and the letters for adjacent residents and business owners, just advising them, telling them to come and have fun, just to make alternative arrangements if they can't get through the front, to come through the back. And we encourage them to come and have a great day. It'll be signed by Mr. Kearley and myself, but it's appropriate the council passes a resolution to have this closed. We can't just run around closed streets. We usually ask for a resolution. So it would be from 46th Street to Hankin and 50th Avenue for the duration from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Lone Wolf Mechanical Special Event Day.
Yeah, Corey.
I get the local business owners will be notified, but in that particular regard, there should be special emphasis on discussing it with the auction yard, given that it's a very main.
I actually already talked to them. I talked to Jeff Fritz. They're aware of it. They've notified all of their truckers.
Like I say, as long as they're very, very aware and okay with, because it definitely impacts them more than anything.
Yeah, it sure was. Yeah, and that's the first thing that when the Lone Wolves talked to me about it, I went and talked to them. And so they're aware of it and they're good with it.
We'll certainly give them this notice, and if we have to, we'll flag truck through if they have to get through.
And I mean, the biggest thing is, as everybody knows, it's a safety issue. If you've got 500 people there running back and forth across that street and traffic going up and down, it's just a matter of time.
Sure, when you have a cattle hauler who's irritated and not sure what's going on and that it's closed, that's a bigger safety issue. So as long as they're aware and they're okay with it, I guess. Like,
They are.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Is there alternative road down past Bard Expo and around that way?
that's where they're going to.
Are we gonna have signage up? Just,
They weren't gonna put any signs up, they just told them that if anybody showed up here, Lone Wolf was either gonna escort them through there, or they were going to, turn them around and go back to the.
We'll have bylaw station that day too, so bylaw can escort them through. We'd rather them come through the other side and come up the back. That's a hairpin turn, and when you got a load of 300 cattle in a pod, or 250 head, whatever it is, that's a hairpin turn. So I'm gonna go over to talk to Stockyards tomorrow as well again, and just make sure that they have an alternate route, that maybe they come into the back, go out that other way.
Going on is not a problem.
They'll come in.
Yeah.
Is it an auction day that day?
No, but a lot of,
They bring them the day
They bring them
before.
early.
sometimes.
This is Saturday.
yeah.
Sunday's the day before.
They have a customer appreciation day on Monday, so they're expecting a fairly big weekend. A lot of cattle coming in Saturday and Sunday.
A lot of times they want them to rep so that they don't have shrinkage, because they only allow 2% shrinkage on a sale.
Yeah, over the weekend, I assure you, there's cattle getting delivered. You can hear them loud as day from my house. Yeah, well, I'm sure you can, yeah.
I can remember my place.
I'll be out here Saturday for a while too, so, but we'll make sure with, we know.
But yeah, they have been notified,
Yeah.
so. Yeah. All right, can I have a motion to, for the road closure on,
I'll move the resolution for the road closure regarding the show and shine.
you, Tracy, all in favor? Carried. Councilor Rash, you're okay with that one?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. 3.8. Connex Wireless Privacy Act clarification. And this was during their July 22nd meeting. We had some questions for them, and I believe they got about, well, it's attached here. Dave, Donna, if you want to comment on that.
That's correct. They got back to us, based on, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Gilbert, based on Councilor Gilbert's concerns about privacy and so forth, because it was a U.S. product. They got back to us, within a week. And this is their information, this is their, information regarding that, and it's for council's information.
Thank you. So, just have a motion to accept 3.8 for information.
Separate information.
Thank you, Corey. All in favor? Carried. Shelley, you're good with that?
Yes.
Thank you. 3.9. Letters to the MLA and MPU and police. So everybody, I think, I know that the council is seeing quite a bit from the police again. They've got a website now. They have a model that they want to deploy 245 members across rural Alberta, and there seems to be quite a bit of a lot of the rural municipalities are voicing voicing their opinion, and they're getting their MPs to write a letter saying they're not in favor of it. And I believe, discussion here, we've all attended the meeting, and I don't believe, unless I miss my vote here, I think everybody is in the same, here that we're not in favor of changing the policing.
I'm not.
I'm not, John. So what I'm proposing is, first of all, that we send a letter to him and MLA, Mark Smith, voicing our opinion, saying that, we don't, want to see the police being changed to that effect. And, like I said, I know across Alberta, there's been lots of other municipalities doing the same thing. And I think we need to do our due diligence by at least doing that. If they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it. You know, we may not. Go ahead.
My understanding of the letter that I read was regarding also retroactive pay.
That's the second part here.
Oh, all right, sorry.
That's the feds. That's the feds. First one is the provincial.
Okay,
So that's a letter for that. The second part of it is in 2017, you're absolutely correct. The federal government, and that's why we've been paying that yearly thing in our budget. But now the federal government is trying, they're talking about going back to 2017 for retroactive pay, for overtime and stuff for the police. And I believe that we should, the FCM has a template there, and they're lobbying for them to saying that, no, we're not gonna pay that. We want the federal government to accept that and eat that cost. And I believe, once again, we should send a letter to the member of parliament, in this case, would be Gerald Cora, and to that effect, with that, Corey.
In that regard, I agree that it would be preposterous and unfair for the federal government to negotiate a new union contract and then retroactively bill the people you have accessing the police service contract with them retroactively, which is what they are discussing. That being said, currently, we do not pay into that. We get our new bill that we're getting from the province, which is a set fee at a set structure. And that's what it is, whether we like it or not, for the next several years.
Correct.
The quicker this Band-Aid gets pulled off, it sucks for the province, but we don't get stuck with the bill as a town. I would just assume it's gonna happen either way. I'd see it not drag out, and I do not wish to drag it out by saying we're opposed to it, because I would just assume it gets dealt with, that the province pays the bill instead of it dragging out, because then we might get the bill.
So what are you suggesting?
I'm saying leave it alone, Ethan. There's no reason to, it's unfair that Ottawa is considering passing the bill on to the province, but right now it's the province's bill, not ours. The longer it drags out, everyone's debating it, we might get the bill.
So then why would the FCM and all these people, why would they?
Because large municipalities, right, if you're a Wetaskiwin, you're gonna get the bill because you're a small municipalities that weren't paying for policing.
Yeah. We
have no skin in this game as it stands right now, because we aren't paying for policing other than this new fee that the province has downloaded to its region.
so there's
That's
nothing that would
changing.
come back to be billed to us.
Not currently, but as the province is looking into different funding and changing, the longer this drags out, the longer it's an open question, gives it more time that it could become our problem. The quicker this Band-Aid gets pulled off and goes away, yes, a large center, St. Albert, is going to be very unhappy. But it doesn't actually materially affect us. The longer it drags out, the more likelihood it could. So I agree with you that it's a ridiculous thing they're doing, but from a Thorsby Municipal Council situation, if you're going to do it right now, because right now we don't pay the bill as a town.
So we would be just an additional cheerleader by sending the letter. It's
I
essentially what
mean,
you're saying.
that's all we'd be doing either way, but why even try to cheer and say, yeah, that's unfair, because in reality, the best case scenario for us, if it's gonna happen either way, is to not drag it out. Give them one last letter after review, and hopefully this all gets decided sooner rather than later before funding formulas and stuff change yet again.
Say, Norman, do you have a comment on that? Usually dealing with this stuff here with the police part there, you know quite a bit about it.
The thing I would want to look at in their language, and I haven't really studied their language yet about this, retroactive payment, is how that language is written. You're right, you weren't paying it in 2017 because you're too small a municipality, no question about it. And you started paying only a couple of years ago.
But at a set fee, though, it's a very,
Yeah.
very prescribed set fee.
Yeah,
It isn't directly proportional to cost necessarily.
you're right, I don't disagree with you. But I want to study the wording a little bit, because they're quite tricky in their wording, and it may behoove us to write something.
The template is already made. We just
Yeah,
have to
and you
know
can bet
exactly.
FCM had their lawyers look at that template, there's no question about it. But I guess I'm not giving you a real educated opinion just now, because I haven't seen that exact wording, I haven't had a chance to really think about it. But FCM would have had their lawyers all over it, there's no question. I will say you get stuck with the bill anyway. That's what I'm forecasting. I'm not saying I'm gonna be right or wrong, I'm not saying you're wrong, because I agree with you. But I think you're gonna be stuck with the bill.
I think the province is gonna get stuck to the bill. It's a matter of whether they pass it on to us. And right now, we have a newly implemented funding formula where it's a kind of a set fee for us. Hopefully, this all gets resolved while we're still paying that set fee. If it drags out past that set fee, there's a high likelihood they pass that cost to us. Right now, the province is gonna get stuck with the bill.
Yeah, that's right.
I want them to pay the bill before they have a chance to update that funding model.
Well, the interesting thing, just to kind of add to what you're saying here a little bit, is I've read the final report for Deloitte Touche on the, sorry, you should take this off, sorry. On the final report for provincial police. And, it's not a good report, I'll be honest with you. It's not a good report, even the final report. They expect to have provincial policing up with all administration, everything in 2 years. I'm telling you, it's impossible, because they have to, first of all, negotiate. The first 8 months in their timeline, they're gonna negotiate with the RCMP to get out of the RCMP contract. Knowing policing, they should have negotiated that before they start their timeline. And building police services, because our company does that, you are looking at almost 3 years to build an administration for a contained police service, not a provincial police service. So they're gonna be 5 years, I'm confident, before they even get this thing on the road. So, it just depends how much the feds, you're right, try and download on the province, who says, well, instead of $250 a police officer provincial, we're now $285 or $300 per police officer, because we're gonna factor that in. We're not even sure if they're gonna go to provincial policing. And we also don't know if the RCMP are gonna let go of their policing contract, because there is a conflict between policing us and policing First Nations. In the treaties, the RCMP go with the treaties. And not only that, the provincial police, unless they're invited onto First Nations land, they can't go, because they're not in the treaty. The RCMP can, they're the only authority that can. A sheriff can't, nobody can. So there's a lot of headaches they have to do. So, it's up to council. I would probably go with the FCM letter, but I gotta study a little bit, so I guess I'm not making a real educated comment here. I'm projecting what I know to be.
Well, this has been going on since 2017, so I don't see any urgency if I get the letter out. We can look at it further, but I would like to see the letter go out to the MLA about the voicing our opinion that we're not in favor of provincial policing.
Oh, yeah, that one, absolutely, that one makes sense. It's
I
tangible,
think
yeah.
everybody's in agreement, and we'll just look for a motion to send a letter to the MLA. Smith?
Just before you make the motion, Mr. Mayor, would you like us to craft that letter and send it to you for Kyle, so you can look at it, make sure we said everything that you want to say, and then go from there?
I think, yeah, you can we'll just get everybody to have a look at it.
Okay.
I just make a comment on that. The council's in agreement with it, but the residents may not. I don't think any resident would be in favor of changing the policing. I can't, I don't know.
I'm sure there's some, but they're also not the ones looking at trying to find a way to fund it, which we are.
We've sat in all these meetings, and they can't come up with a price. There's just so many variables in there that they're doing wrong, and I just firmly believe it'd be a big mistake for them. I understand. Saying still, the province is going to pay for the municipalities. Well, they say they're going to pay for everything, but who's that? No, not a separate bill.
And there's some ambiguity as to what the bill to the town may or may not be. They have some very carefully constructed language thus far. It's not all that, it won't be all that shocking when there is a large bill to the municipality under the language that has been very carefully constructed.
So, everybody would like to look at the letter before it's sent out?
Yeah.
Okay, so, a motion to, send a letter and then have administration, forward it to all council for their approval or straw vote on it, or to that effect. I don't think we have to come and bring it back to council. We can just, you can talk to them this over.
Yeah, you can do stressful edits. Because you can't make a decision on it. We could look at your edits. You pass the fact that you want to have a letter.
Yeah.
So then we can look at, edits. We'll just keep who's making the edits and then back to you.
Passed it already. All right, thank you. You're welcome, sir. I have a motion to that effect, send a letter to the MLA, so now, motion. John,
I'll make that motion.
all in favor? Gary, Shelley, you're good with that one?
Yes.
Okay. All right, CFO reports.
No,
10,
3.10.
Boulevard weeding.
Oh, I didn't mark it down on mine. All right, got to put it down. Okay, Boulevard weeding, go ahead.
I just want to mention that the boulevard had been weeded. I don't know if anybody noticed that there were weeds, and now the majority of the weeds are gone. And it's thanks to volunteers in the community and primarily Communities in Bloom. I don't know if there was a contractor hired to spray the weeds coming up, like Gunslinger or anybody else. And I just thought if there was going to be money paid out to that contractor, if there could be any compensation considered for Communities in Bloom and their members for their efforts. They do volunteer work in the community, but that's typically not what they do. And the boulevard, I think, looks significantly better.
But so you lost me there. So you're saying that the Gunslinger is doing it?
Well, I thought he was hired to come again, but he hasn't arrived.
Hired by who?
I'm assuming.
We hire him to do that?
Just some clarifications, Mayor, to Councilor Mustin, he sprayed one.
Yeah.
And he was coming back again to spray, but concerned with drifts and killing flowers, and we can't weed within there because of the rock. So I spoke at great length to the volunteers yesterday and spent some time with them. So did Cindy. Pretty awesome folks. There's no question about it, and it was much appreciated. They took that on themselves, contrary to rumors where folks were saying I forced them out there. Anyway.
Arlene, would you have a comment?
Yes, when you mentioned about the volunteers doing the reading and doing that's good. I volunteered for a lot of things myself. However, I'm starting to see that CIB didn't have younger, efficient volunteers. Rod and Elaine Blair, they're in their 70s, and Rosemary Stowage is on her hands and knees to help me, and she's older than me, and I am 82. So I don't know how old she is. Now, that's not fair to ask. I'll have to volunteer time from people. I'm sure CIB could come up with some younger.
They volunteer for this job, and there was other younger volunteers. My mother, myself, and my sister were out there for an hour on Sunday as well, picking weeds. So it's all different volunteers, and they like to do that. That's why they are CIB members. And she loves it.
Everybody likes to volunteer and do the work. And
They don't care how old they are. Do that. They wouldn't know what they are.
They're able to do it. They're gonna do
They
it.
did it because, and I talked to Rosemary yesterday, her comment was,
They were out there doing that because we're supposed to apparently be getting thousands of people into Thorsby this weekend. And it was a disgrace to see our main street in that kind of a mess. That's why they went out to clean that. Now, why couldn't we get a Tiger torch out there and burn them weeds off instead?
The other area that is a disaster, as far as I'm concerned, is the entrance to Thorsby, where you've got that very clear area with a rock in the middle, say, welcome to Thorsby. That is a disgrace. If I wasn't from here and I was passing through, it would not encourage me to visit Thorsby one little bit.
So yes, there are a lot of things that need addressing. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to round up a whole lot of younger volunteers. And our volunteers are passionate, the ones that are part of Communities in Bloom. And yes, it breaks my heart to see these people out on their hands and knees and not being public works or not being a contractor. And so I just thought if there was any consideration possible for compensating, whether it's to those people individually or to Communities in Bloom, if that were possible, then rather than having had to spend the money to Gunslinger, I don't know what that cost would have been if it was $100 or $200, if that money could be redirected, if that's a possibility.
Make sure that's not happening, for this. Looking for compensation for volunteers because there's not enough young volunteers to help pull weeds. Because we're gonna pay a company to do it. You want compensation for the volunteers that went and did, saving us money against hiring a company to do it.
I would like to see the volunteers compensated because the town did not take care of the weeds. It's the town's weeds.
Well, I don't think it's in our budgets for one thing.
Hiring a contractor was
Let me just clarify that for a second, and I understand what you're saying. We aren't happy with the boulevard either. There's nothing I'd like better to do than to take those rocks out of their trucks and around the big sign. They're a nuisance, and we can't weed with it. We have some concern from the public that when we sprayed the first time, we stunted the flowers. There's been those kind of concerns. So we held off on Gunslinger only because we don't want to destroy what's there if there's any spray back. So we were trying to be appropriate. I don't like the foxtail mat there either. I'd like to dig that up and plant it to lawn and make it look nice and get rid of those trees and make it nice because I don't like that boulevard. We can't weed whip or we're going to throw rocks through vehicles because those rocks are too big and we have industrial weed whippers. So I will say, I was surprised to see the volunteers out there. I had no idea they were coming. I had no idea they were going to be out there, and I spoke with each and every one of them at length. And I wanted to get out there in the afternoon and help, and I just couldn't get there yesterday. I tried, because that's the kind of person I am. I can't comment on whether you want to compensate them or not, because that is the council decision, because that was not in the budget. I don't have at my fingertips what we would pay Gunslinger for the second round. I don't know, and we have to, Cindy and I have to confer about that. Maybe a community grant or something, maybe might be the answer to it. I don't know, but that is, I would say it's not in the budget, and I will say that's something that council will be best to decide.
Are there more areas that Gunslinger would have typically taken care of, or just the boulevard?
No, we take care of other areas. We've got some noxious stuff, but we also have to be careful where we spray. We can't spray near waterways. There's also, I mean, we're pretty much pulling and burning a lot of some of these weeds, right? But when there was concern about the fact that the first spray stunted a lot of the flowers on the boulevard, we thought, well, we better be careful. Next time I'm going to suggest that we either cover them when he's coming, or we know when you're planting and you know when it's coming. So I mean, that's a logistic issue we can solve next year. He drove by yesterday. Gunslinger did drive by yesterday, and he saw the weeds being picked, and he just kept going. No, he's fine with it. He's okay. So we were being prudent and wise to not kill community bloom flowers in your grants. That's why it hasn't been done. But I would, I want to get rid of those rocks, and I want to deal with that boulevard next year because it is a nightmare. With all due respect to whoever put the rocks there, I think it can look better, and I think it can look nicer, and it's less upkeep, and it showcases your flowers, or it showcases perennials where we need to be. So,
And can I just clarify, they're the town's flowers?
no, actually, we give you a grant every year. We are happy to have them.
Okay,
You're a society, and we're happy you planted them. They look lovely. And you certainly can take the credit, because when we pass on a grant to a nonprofit society, that is yours, and we're happy they're so beautiful. We just, we take pleasure in their beauty.
all right, well, I just want to bring up my concern.
No, it's up to council. It's an okay concern.
Can I make a comment too? I agree with Tracy, that boulevard is, well, as, like everybody says, is terrible, but I also think this should be a town responsibility, and next year we really need to talk more about how, because the CIB, there's been a lot of things put on them this year, like the watering. The money that they're given to do the watering that the town has always done in the past is ridiculous. My niece has been doing it, and it's not worth what they're doing, and they're basically volunteering their time, and she shouldn't be. But anyways, because this has always been, so, and I understand we need to change it, but I still think we need to keep our place looking like people want to come here. Because I look out my window that's why I had to go at least get in front of our place. I look out my window every day, and I'm just not proud of the place I live in. And I think it's something that I know we have summer students, and I know we didn't, and that's something that they've always done. Last year, when I complained, they got the summer students up there doing it. And I know there's grants for these summer students. So just.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, it's something you guys are gonna have to look at your budget for next year, and whether we do it or you do it, but it has to be looked at. But this year, you have a comment?
Yeah. Well, from a resident's point of view, and I also work in town, when you have bylaw officer coming and telling you you have to clean up your yard, or you have to clean up your business area, and then the town is not taking care of their stuff, it causes a lot of hard feelings and anger, right? Why would I have to clean up my stuff when the town isn't even taking care of theirs?
I'm sure that doesn't help you.
It's from your point of view, right? You know, like you came into the business, and we're like, yeah, you need to clean up your parking lot, absolutely. But the town hasn't cleaned up their stuff. And something to look to as well for younger volunteers, why not talk to the high school about having volunteer credit and getting the high school kids out there doing that? Like, why not have the high school kids participate in having pride in where they live? You could approach the principal of the high school about it.
And the Chamber of Commerce, we have plans to work with the town to fix the boulevard, and because we're redoing our sign too, but it's just gonna take time too.
It's all good points, and I think it has to be addressed, but I think that, you know, I don't want to use the excuse that it's almost fall, but it's around the corner here, and I think these are things that we have to look at for anything that Community Bloom's doing for budget for next year, and tell them we have to look at that.
This is a suggestion for the town, that they could put that rubberized stuff like rubber did down the middle, but
Like, say, don't hit it right in the zone, them rocks are just, you can't do anything with them.
it just looks good after it's easier and the problem's done.
Yeah, so, you
I
know,
think we're all.
thank you for bringing back, and I'm just speaking as myself, I mean, volunteers, yeah, we'd be nice to have someone, but I think that, you know, the people that are volunteered from here, and thanks for doing it, the people that are doing it, but they're not doing it to get paid. That's my opinion on the thing. I don't know what anybody else thinks on.
You have a request on the table when Mr. Muir asking for a resolution. So we think we should address that, Councilman.
Well, Tina actually made a motion. If she's gonna make a motion, then yes, but otherwise.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I said it, taking it in for consideration,
That, no, I just said you had a request.
a request.
Yeah. So, you want to leave it as information? Do you want to leave it as,
We can leave it as information, that is fine.
fair?
Thank you.
Thank
All right. We don't have any CAO reports, but CFO reports,
Okay, so in the water grant, we, and I'm sure this is an issue for most grants, but we have to fund it until the first payment will be made prior to March 31st, 2023. So I just wanted to bring it to council's attention that we're gonna have to fund the expenses for the grant until the province reimburses us. So it's just gonna affect our cash flow a little bit. Right, we will get the money back, so it'll sit on our things with people, but just wanted to make you aware of that. And then, read the audit. The auditor was in on last Tuesday. And we talked about a lot of things. She looked over some stuff. The scope of their audit will be larger than normal due to the circumstances. So the cost will be, most likely a lot more than what budgeted for. So I will know more next week because they're coming back on Wednesday and Thursday. And she did say after that, she would know how much more time she thought it was going to take. But
just to give a date when they think they're gonna be done.
well, she'll know that too after she starts the initial process. So she's gonna get back to me Monday by the end of the day, because she's on holidays this week. And then Tuesday, we're gonna pull a bunch of documents for them, and then I'll come in Wednesday and start. So, but it might be, yeah, big job trying to pull and find documents. Because I just went through MasterCard, and there's lots of receipts and things, so I don't know what the payable files look like, but that's been the case for years, according to audit reports, that we've had to call vendors to get copies of old invoices and stuff. So, yeah, I'm not sure, but just that's the update. Prepared, so coming probably for money.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions? I guess I should have a motion to accept the CFO report as for information.
I'll make a motion to accept the CFO report's information.
All in favor? Carried. Shelley, once again, you're good with that?
Yes.
Thank you. No correspondence, so before we go in camera gallery, does anybody have any further comments in here?
I asked you months ago, Daryl, if you had advertised for a CEO or a CAO and a financial advisor. You said they have to be in place by the end of September. Have you got any updates on that?
No, we've waiting for, actually, Corey, I think we've got stuff. You were gonna come back with some stuff for that, right?
We had talked about it, and last we left it was you were gonna start putting that out there is where we left it.
Was my understanding, like I sent the word thing to everybody and I thought you were going to put stuff in there. Like
I'm not sure what stuff we even need.
from the other postings.
I'm not clear on, I don't have the same recollection of the discussion if that's the case.
We're looking at filling the position application.
We left it, it could be a fairly vague
Yeah,
posting because it's a very obvious job that for a small municipality and that we should just advertise at a certain point where we left.
Well, then, I think the problem came about as we were discussing it prior was that we really are unclear about what we need and what we want and what FTA and if we're going with one person or two people. So I think we have to have a discussion in regards to what we're actually, if we are going to go forward at this point, what exactly we're going to do, because then CAO Donna and CFO Cindy are giving us great value for the dollar that we are paying, and we haven't budgeted for anything more. So we really need to go back to the drawing board and discuss if indeed this is something we want to do in the fall, what exactly it is we are looking at and how we're going to be able to financially support that decision, I think is kind of also where we left it at.
So I guess I should put it this way then, so, you're correct that the current contract goes to September 30th. And, on the meeting on the 27th, we will have to make a decision on us guys what we're gonna do. So we need to, I guess, come back to the table and discuss this further.
In light of recent events, I'm not sure that Councilor Gilbert is the proper person to be writing up what is a CAO important qualifications for a CAO. I just want to make a statement, Mayor Hudson, through to Councilor Gilbert, as a resident and taxpayer of the town of Thorsby, in light of the CFO report from August 9th, 2022, and you being part of that council, I ask for your resignation. Thank you.
I would like to point out that that report from CFO had zero factual documentation behind it, and anybody can say whatever they want, but the fact is there was no documentation even presented, and I have a very different interpretation of what has occurred as
I have a stack of documentation nobody asked. So it's not all facts. I wouldn't bring anything forward for you unless I had the stuff to back it up. So unless you ask to see it, you can come in anytime and I will show it all to you.
Sure.
So, because I don't make statements in a public forum unless they are the absolute truth. Because I sign a document every year saying that I will be ethical. So coming forward with things that aren't the truth is not ethical. I have to sign off every year that I'm ethical.
I believe everything, no, the audit will.
That's what I agree. I agree with Daryl. I agree with Cindy. I agree that once the audit comes to their conclusions and they obviously back up what Cindy's saying, then at that point in time, we need to decide what we are going to do as a council moving forward.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions, comments?
I just, sorry, once again, I have something going back to 3.2 or 3.3 in regards to the fees and services. We had discussed that we were going to relook at the market item, but then there was the dog bylaw one. We never really discussed what we were doing in regards to the annual versus the lifetime. Were we going to bring that back for discussion as well?
I believe we're gonna bring it back for discussion.
We are, Councillor Shelley, will bring it back.
Thank you, CA O'Donnell.
You're very welcome. Mr. Mayor, something's troubling me. May I make a comment? With your permission.
Yes, go ahead.
I've sat in a lot of council meetings in my career. I've listened to a lot of councils in my career. In fact, all 247 of them in this province. I've done it for many years through my time in transportation. At no time have I heard a professional be berated by a councillor as to ethical considerations. Whether Councillor Gilbert likes it or not, through you, Mr. Mayor, I demand an apology to my CFO regarding that issue, sir. I will stand down.
I would apologize for the tone I took, but do stand by the fact that no documentation was provided. And I also would like to comment that I don't think it is appropriate for the mayor to let members of the gallery demand resignation because of what their personal perception is when they don't have any facts or information.
Well, I mean, the gallery, according to yourself, you're the one, the council wants everybody to talk and we give them this opportunity.
And I feel that was an inappropriate comment as well in my direction.
I didn't make the comment.
Based off of information that they have partial understanding of, which is why my comment was probably fairly abrupt.
Okay. Taken. So, thank you very much, Donna. So, and you made your piece there with an apology for your tone and.
Yeah, I apologize for the tone, not for the comment.
Okay, well, the comment, I'm sure, going, well, like you say, the auditors will, determine that, because I know, well, you didn't come up with those, you didn't pull them out of my hat. I know that they will, certainly, they'll come out in the audit for sure, one way or another. And, you know, harassment or bereavement or anything like this in this. So, I apologize if I didn't conduct it properly here. And we'll move forward on it.
Just one question, so there's no CAO, CEO, that's gonna come out, I mean, there's no process to hire somebody until after the audit.
Not at the moment, I mean, we've discussed it here, you know, in my opinion, I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, our CAO and CFO, we're doing, right now, we're saving a lot of money.
Well, I'm not commenting on the job, I think they're doing really well, I'm just saying, in regards to your question about this being delayed until after September 27th, likely because the audit.
Well, there's definitely nothing happening before that,
Yeah, that's,
absolutely not.
that was all I was just
Yep.
getting clarity on.
And Debbie is asking when we were gonna do our posting, and definitely nothing is gonna happen before September 27th, I can tell you that.
I would just like to say something, if it's okay as well, please, Mayor Austin. I just want to say that things, obviously, as CFO Cindy has pointed out, aren't fantastic. There's a lot of problems, and Cindy and CAO Donna have been fantastic in supporting us and trying to get us forward on a great foot, and they're giving us great value. And without them, I don't know where we would be. So I just feel that until we're on better footing, this is something, obviously, this is something we would discuss as a council, but just this is my personal opinion, that until things are on a better footing, this shouldn't even be a thought process, but that's just my own personal opinion.
Thank you.
Is there a time limit that these ladies are, that we're allowed to keep them, that you guys are kind of talking about hiring somebody else?
We have a contract that we can extend at any time. It's from time to time, and the next deadline is September 30th.
Okay, but like, they're willing to stay on and keep, I just feel like we have all these problems, and there's just a revolving door of people coming through, and problems are never gonna get solved because people come through and it takes them a year or two just to find all the problems, let alone start to solve them.
I agree. I know that the, you know, the auditor is already mentioned to us that, you know, dates should be coinciding with audits and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, so what she said was that consistency in having the same person over multiple years would be beneficial, because dealing with somebody new every year is not good. And then that it should, like, basically, we should stay for sure till the end of the next audit, because we did all the, so you bring somebody in January, they have no clue what happened in 2022, like, no clue. Like me, I'm gonna have so much trouble trying to answer your questions because I don't know what happened. So I can only go by the documents that I have. So that was one of her things. And then having a consistent person year over year over year is preferable, just because they get to know how we work, we get to know how they work. It brings the audit cost down because we're providing more benefit to them because we're doing things the way they want them done and providing the information that they need in a timely, organized manner, which, yeah.
And I agree. And getting back to your comment, I mean, yeah, to get somebody in tomorrow is a step backwards.
Well, and also what's the vetting process, like, not, and this isn't a personal attack on anyone in council, But what qualifications does everyone in this room have for knowing who to hire? Like, it's kind of a big deal, right? And it's, I don't know. I feel like none of us really know what makes a good CAO or what makes a good CFO, and how are we vetting those people properly to hire someone who actually knows what they're doing and isn't going to get us into more trouble and cost us more money in legal fees down the road.
So Daryl, when these two, Donna and Cindy were hired,
Yes,
they were hired for $113,000.
correct.
Now, was that, oh, that was for 5 or 6 months. Now, have you renewed that, or is that $113,000?
$113, still the same amount, and there's no benefits to that, you know, like the other, when we hire somebody permanent, if we hire somebody permanent, you'd have to pay them benefits as well. So this 113 is without benefits.
Just to clarify, Debbie, there's 113,000 per year. So we didn't make 113,000 in that first 5 months. It was 113,000 over the year. So because we just took the previous CAO salary, which split between the two of us.
Minus the benefit.
Minus benefits. So,
Because you're contracted.
yeah.
So if you're gonna renew it, you would tell it again what it's gonna be. Every time it's renewed, you know what it's gonna be.
I think the one thing that we definitely need and what we have now is transparency. And that's why I don't think there should be any changes in our CAO, CFO if possible. And not just transparency, but consistency, like you said. And so I think, I'm hoping that I can keep them for ever. Just it.
But you still have to advertise, right?
No.
You still have to advertise.
Not if we appoint them.
For permanent, they can still be on permanent.
There you go.
We could offer them permanent, but they could turn it down. So if we were still to post a listing, get people vetted for it, offer it to them first, and they chose to turn down, then we'd have it back in time, we'd have to be waiting 4 or 5 months.
If council, if council decides to just keep status quo, then you obviously wouldn't be doing any advertising.
No, but if there was an advertising going out and I decided I wanted to join, that you could look at mine, but they could still be your permanent, could they not?
Yeah.
You could still put that, providing that they apply as well as I would. So,
If that's the route we go, yes.
I shouldn't get called for permanency then.
If we go that route, correct.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay. I'd like to get a motion to take a quick recess before you go in camera.
I'd like a motion to take a 10-minute recess.
John, 10 minutes, so we'll be back here at 8:45. All in favor?
Shelley?
Yes, thank you. Good night.
Good night, Shirley. Thanks, Dr. Shelley.
Thanks for coming up with us.
Oh, Shawnee, you dropped.
Oh, my.
I did not see you.
Yeah.
What did I do? Or over here?
Nothing was sitting here at me.
I don't know his name, but it's kind of
Yeah.
I think he's new.
He's a resident.
Yeah. That is very nice.
Good night.
Good night, Shelley. See you.
The White House?
That he's here.